Hello again, it's Mr. Pete, your internet shop teacher, and this is indeed episode number 62B, the answer to my What Is It Mystery Tool Mystery Item series. So let's talk about these, and thank you so much for the great answers. Some of you gave me answers that I did not know what these items were, some of them. So I appreciate that, appreciate the funny ones, and anyone that participated in this series. Go back to 62A if you haven't already watched it and read some of the comments. You'll get a kick out of them. But item 1, again, loaned to me by my friend John, and he is the man in my combine video. But since nobody watched that, you probably don't know who I'm talking about. But John is a farmer, and he said, it's pretty obvious, I think, what this is. It's a corn sheller, patent pending, aluminum, tapered. Now, it is not meant to shell 50 bushels of corn. It's meant to just take samples off of an ear, a cob, so that they can be tested for whatever reason, usually just for dryness. And a farmer, you know, that hurts if you got to do a lot of that. So here's the whole purpose of it, just to take a few off the ends. And this corn is really dry, and you see how nicely that worked. This is probably about 14 or 13% moisture. And once you get it started, it's fairly easy to shell this Illinois corn. Very short ear. John gave me a bunch of ears for a sample, and then these would go into the moisture tester. Item 2 really puzzled me. I had no idea what it was, or for that matter is, because it's so pretty. Several people mentioned that it is probably a jeweler's tool. I said it was for killing cockroaches in corners. Some people thought it was for making a jack-o'-lantern, wham, on the pumpkin. But in fact, what it is, it's a glazer's hammer. Thanks to several of you that sent me the link to find this patent, and I printed it out, and there it is. Remember that the patent drawing does not always look exactly like the finished marketable product. What they're doing there is patenting certain features. Well, thank goodness I have vinyl windows in my house, but I sure puttied a lot and reglazed a lot of windows, broken windows. You're going to replace windows when you have kids. And I know that this picture, this was used by framers also, they said, and I'm on the wrong side of it because now they do all kinds of fancy stuff here with these Kmart picture frames. But the whole idea here was that you would take these pesky little Glazer points, remember those? And you would put them into place. That's not going to work on this one. But no matter what angle you held this at, it would stay parallel with on the glass. This would be glass, of course. And then you could pound it in, and I suppose even wrap it with another hammer if necessary to drive it in place. Now, these were such a pain in the neck that there was a time when they came up with the push points. In fact, I had to make this. I didn't have any. I probably threw them away in a tantrum many years ago. They were super cheap, I think a dime a box, but these push points took some of the pain out of it. And remember, those were used like this. There might be some people that don't really know what these are. I gotta work on this side. And I would always drive these in with a chisel and a hammer. But they were pesky little devils to putty over because often your putty knife caught on those little points there. But that's what this little beauty is, a glazer's hammer. 1926 patent, I believe it said. Thanks again to my buddy Gary for loaning me these two tools, and I have to get them back to him now. This was an easy one. No mark on it other than H50. I don't know who made it, but since it's kind of a pretty tool, some people thought that it was a candy maker's hammer, toffee hammer, where they break the candy up, hard candy, but I looked up some pictures of that and they were much fancier than this. This is nothing more than an offset screwdriver. For the larger sizes, somebody called them drag links when you get into the big ones. And I got a bunch of others here and many, many more out in the garage. Smaller than these, but in effect, that's what it is. This was a good one because it had different sizes and different angles. This little Yankee, Stanley Yankee, was a ratcheting type. Oh well, that's irrelevant because we hate slotted screws, do we not? By the way, I should have mentioned that I love these Stanley chisels. I think you can still get them. They are very high quality and kind of expensive, but they're not the cheap throwaway ones that were called Stanley Handyman or Great Neck or something like this. These are quality chisels if you ever need to buy a good chisel. Item 4. These are gasometers. And this is a gas meter, not to be confused with a gasometer. This is a gasometer. I remember these in LaSalle near the Rock Island Depot when I was a boy. And they are used to store natural gas and artificially produced gases, which I don't think they do much anymore. Now most of our gas here in Illinois is stored underground in the limestone. These gasometers are in Chicago. This picture is from 1906 and it was along the Canal. And I would ask my dad, how come sometimes, we only had one of them I guess, sometimes it's real tall and other times it's real short. And he said, well, it depends on how much gas is in them. So this is one that's full and this one that is only about 1/3 full. And there was a weight on the top. They were sealed at the bottom by water, and the weight gave the gas some pressure so it could be distributed. And it gave it an even constant pressure, I understand. But to move it long distances, of course, they had to pressurize it much more. These were typically used locally. They wanted them to be pretty full in the morning, and then they would collapse probably quite a bit during a day, especially if they were heating, you know, it was a heating season, and then at night they could fill them up again. You know what? I was shocked at how many people knew what a gasometer was, but over in England and in Europe, some of them were beautiful structures made of brick. A lot of them now have been repurposed into event centers and things like that. What a beautiful structure. It actually looks like a building, and it's a shame that most of them have been knocked down. Most people had this correct, but this is Charlie Chaplin in the movie Modern Times. Again, the artist is David Levine. Well, most everyone knows that this is a leaf from a catalpa tree, a miserable weed tree. You do not want one of them in your yard. They're messy, but they give you very, very dense shade. I don't believe any nursery probably ever sold these. They're considered a weed, and but you don't want one. I do remember them as a kid. They say there's a lot of caterpillars on them. I don't remember that, but they are good for fish bait. Well, let's go out and look at some of the footage while I was on my bike ride where I talk about it. And this tree was hit by lightning. And now the answer to what kind of a tree is this. It's a catalpa tree. Semi-common. You don't see them everywhere. As a matter of fact, it's probably considered to be a nuisance. And there's a lot of little ones growing around here that have popped up because of all the pods. Again, the leaves are huge. Like an elephant ear almost. And again, producing these pods, which are everywhere on the ground. And where am I? I'm riding the Canal Trail from Route 80 to Rock Falls. It's 26 miles. I've already come about 20 miles and I'm getting pretty tired, but I'm going to force myself. There's my bicycle. And yes, it's not that easy when you're an old man. Anyway, the answer is Catalpa. And that's what the bark looks like. This one looks like it might have been struck by lightning one time, some time ago. It's quite a tall tree, the tallest for some distance. I was going to film this whole ride, but it would be too long and lacking interest. But this is the feeder canal that goes from the Rock River and joins the Illinois-Mississippi Canal near Route 80. As usual, I'm the only one on the trail, even though it's a Sunday. And I'm riding uphill. Actually, there are no locks at all between the Rock River and where it enters the actual canal. But this is called the feeder canal because it feeds water to the other canal. Very slow moving. This is extra credit, and it is in regards to the Catalpa tree that I just showed you. And there is a feeder canal in Illinois that supplies all the water to the Illinois-Mississippi Canal, and it begins up here in Sterling Rock Falls on the Rock River where there's a lock, and it's the only lock, and there's a dam there. I know you can't see it in this view, but the feeder canal goes all the way down here 25 miles and connects up with the regular canal about where my point is. Now I'll zero in on that. This is Google Earth, by the way. I'm sure you know that. But here's the Rock River up in Rock Falls. This is Rock Falls. This is Sterling, Illinois. Here is the dam. And right here is where I meet my wife. She drives and I'm on a bicycle for 25 miles, which isn't easy for a 77-year-old. This is where I end up, but this is the canal. And as you can see, it continues for a distance. There it curves. This is Route 88, the tollway. Makes a real big curve here. And this is the canal here with the trees. It's all farmland around here. It's very flat here. It's all gravity. There are no locks except the one at the river. And someplace along here, approximately in here, is where that Catalpa tree was. But let me zoom down a little bit farther, all the way to near Route 80, and you'll see where the canal, the feeder canal, joins with the main canal. And this is the sole supply of water for the canal. Can't believe I rode all that way. There's an aqueduct here. Anybody still watching? And here it is. This is called the feeder basin. Again, this is the feeder canal, and this is the main. Sometimes it's called Hennepin Canal, but the official name is Illinois-Mississippi Canal. I hope I didn't say Illinois-Michigan before. But at this point, half of the water flows this way toward the Illinois River, and some of it flows this way back into the Rock River near the Quad Cities in Illinois. I hope I didn't bore you to death, but this is Mr. Pete saying so long for now.